Hey everyone, it's me, Arthur Kade. So Andrew McCarthy, how does one of the biggest film icons of the 1980s end up becoming a young adult novelist?
Yeah, it's a crazy transition, isn't it? I mean, I'd been writing for a number of years, travel writing. I'm a travel writer in my other life. And then I had an idea for a book, and here it is.
One of the fascinating things about this book is obviously it is from the eyes of a 15-year-old girl.
Yeah.
How does that happen when you're writing it?
Yeah, my inner 15-year-old girl. It's crazy. I thought I was writing a book from the father's point of view, and then halfway through it, I realized my favorite character was the daughter, and so I just sort of changed perspective on it, and suddenly it was from her world, which was great because it freed me up in a way. It's like acting with an accent. I was suddenly hiding behind her in a certain way that allowed me to be much more revealing. It was really a nice, liberating thing.
So you finish this book, and are you like, did I get this right? Like, this does actually sound like a girl?
Well,
How
sure,
do you know?
No, I did. I gave it to my 15-year-old neighbor, a girl, and she read it and said, yeah, this sounds like me and my friends. So I thought, okay, I'm okay. Yeah.
When you look at your career, obviously the 80s were just,
A blur.
A blur. From Pretty in Pink to Say It Almost Fire Lesson Zero, you did it all. Then you transition behind the camera and you become a director. And I know you've done a lot of Orange is the New Black. You've worked with James Spader again on The Blacklist. How does that whole transition happen?
Oh, it was all sort of without me even sort of knowing it. One day I sort of looked up and I seemed to go, wow, I guess I direct most of the time now. And so it just sort of happened. It's all the same thing to me. In the writing and the directing and the acting, it's all sort of interchangeable in the same thing. It's all just sort of storytelling, and I feel like me when I do it.
When you look back at those movies, did you ever have any sense that they would become the iconic movies that they became for multiple generations?
No, when we were making those movies, I remember thinking Pretty in Pink at the time was a silly movie about a girl wanting to go to a dance. And no, I think only in hindsight have they become these sort of things that represent a generation of people. At the time, they weren't even that successful, really. But I think the reason they became successful is because home video was just coming into the fore when those movies were being released, and so kids were allowed to bring us home for the first time. Instead of seeing a movie once or twice, they could suddenly bring us home and you'd watch it 20, 30 times, and they took ownership in a way that people never did before in movies.
What do you think it would have been like back then with social media? Because it's such a...
Thank God it didn't exist. Thank
to be a heartthrob today is very different than back then.
All the things that I used to do, I would have gotten caught for all of them. It would have been terrible.
When you look at yourself today and being a father and having all of these types of different career motives where you get to write a novel, where you get to be a travel writer, is that something that gives you more joy now than maybe acting did in your 20s?
No, I loved acting when I was a kid, and I still love it when I occasionally do it. But nowadays people get to do many more different things. There are no rules anymore. You can just sort of do what you like. If you can have an aptitude for it, off you go. Which I think is great and very liberating in that way. I love it.
When you look at television, obviously working on Orange is the New Black and The Blacklist, working on these great shows, why do you think television is at this incredible apex right now that we're seeing?
It's really interesting, isn't it? There's so many outlets now, too. And, I think the long form of, people binging has changed the way television is written. So I think that allows sort of making these kind of 10-hour movies, and it's just a different kind of storytelling. And movies now are just so much about these giant epics and sort of cartoon superhero movies that, good, solid other kinds of stories aren't getting told. So TV's the place to tell them now.
When you get behind the camera, do you still feel the nervousness that you might have had as an actor?
No, that's the beauty of it. I get none of the anxiety I did from acting. None. It's just, I have every actor neuroses there is, so when I see other actors go through it, I know how to help them. But no, that's one of the nice things about directing. I'm totally liberated from any of those nerves.
We're in the age of reboots right now. If you had to pick one movie that you've done that would be rebooted that you'd like to see, what would that movie be?
I'd like to see how they would do Weekend at Bernie's.
I was thinking that was my pick as well. That would be the best.
And, he could still be dead, all these years later.
What's next for you?
I'm going to be producing and directing a new television show called Condor, which we'll start filming next month.
And what's that about?
It's sort of a takeoff, again, a reboot of the old Robert Redford film, 3 Days of the Condor, sort of a spy, espionage kind of thing. And so it's pretty exciting. So we start that, next month.
Congratulations, man.